Chapter 624. When night fell, the mountain wind was exceptionally cold. Li Mingye was only wearing a thin layer of clothing. She did not know what the mystic stone grass looked like, only that it emitted a refreshing fragrance. Thus, Li Mingye used the bamboo stick to walk through the increasingly dark forest, desperately sniffing with her nose. As the night grew darker, Li Mingye shivered from the cold. She took out a piece of almost moldy flatbread from her bosom and bit into it. Then she used her hands to pull the huge broad leaves in the forest and drank the rainwater that fell from the leaves. Woo-woo, the sound of the wind was mixed with the howling of wolves. Immediately, the girl gripped the bamboo stick tightly and looked around with a pair of large eyes full of vigilance. After a while, only a wild rabbit scurried through the forest. Forget it, why don't I look for it tomorrow morning? Li Mingye bent down and sat under a large tree, hugging her knees. She was so tired that she was about to faint, and in the blink of an eye she fell asleep. She did not know how long she slept for, but suddenly her nose was filled with a refreshing fragrance. That was the smell of roasted meat? Li Mingye immediately woke up and turned to look. There was a faint fire coming from a small valley not far away, as if there was someone there. However, Li Mingye knew that anyone who stayed in the crimson abyss in the middle of the night was not a good person. At this time her stomach growled again. That small piece of flatbread was the last of Li Mingye's food. She could not help but feel so wrong that she was about to cry. However, the fragrance in the distance was getting stronger and stronger. Finally, the girl could not stand it anymore. She stood up and walked towards the valley. Her straw sandals were already worn out, and the soles of her feet stung when she stepped on the sharp rocks, but she could endure it. The strong hunger was driving her crazy. The moment she climbed up the small hill, she saw an extremely handsome young man in tattered clothes roasting a wild rabbit in the valley. The meat was already cooked and the oil flowed on the surface, emitting a desirable fragrance. Gulp. Li Mingye swallowed her saliva and stared at the person in the valley from afar with her big round eyes. However, she did not notice that behind her, two pairs of red eyes were faintly discernible in the forest, slowly approaching her. Impressively, they were two adult swift wolves, also the frequent guests of this forest at night. Roar. Li Mingye finally woke up when the wolves roared. She recognized wolves and was scared out of her wits. After a scream, she held the bamboo pole with her tender hands and pointed it at the two wolves in the distance. At the same time, her body involuntarily retreated. Roar. The wolves opened their mouths wide, mucus dripping down from their teeth. It had been a long time since they had seen such a delicious meal. One of the wolves rushed over and bit down on Li Mingye. The bamboo pole broke and the girl rolled down the hill like a ball under the impact of the swift wolf. Roar. Another swift wolf chased after her and bit Li Mingye's neck at lightning speed. Ah! The girl only had time to let out a cry of alarm, but at this moment, suddenly a figure like lightning appeared in front of her. It was the person who roasted the rabbit meat in the valley, only to see him raise his arm horizontally, a faint true energy lingering around his palm, suddenly sweeping out. Bang! Blood splattered, the wolf's head was actually smashed by him. Lin Muyu's body suddenly charged forward, her fist flying out, smashing the other wolf into pieces. Instantly, the wolf's blood splattered all over Lin Muyu's body. Lin Muyu frowned, wiping his bloodied palm on the wolf's carcass. When he turned around, he saw the girl behind him staring at him with a pair of big bright eyes. So powerful. There was a bit of excitement in Li Mingye's eyes. She said, "Who are you? Where did you come from?" "I don't know who I am." Lin Muyu sat down again, tore off a rabbit leg and ate it. She said, "I don't know where I come from. I live in this mountain." Live in the mountain? Li Mingye sat in front of Lin Muyu with great interest, hugging her knees and said with burning eyes, "Immortal, you are an immortal, aren't you? Grandpa said that a few years ago this jungle was called the Scarlet Abyss. A god named Lin Muyu was sleeping in the Scarlet Abyss. You are him, you are that god, that immortal, right?" Lin Muyu frowned. After entering the Forgotten Realm, he could not remember anything, let alone what a god was, so he said impatiently, "I don't know who Lin Muyu is. I am not an immortal. You should leave quickly. It is dangerous here, not suitable for you." "Immortal, immortal." Li Mingye cheered and said, "I saw an immortal. Immortal, can you summon the wind and rain, swallow clouds and spit out mist?" "No." Lin Muyu said coldly. "Then immortal, do you know how to turn stone into gold, cast beans into soldiers?" "No." Lin Muyu was already very irritated. Immortal, immortal. Li Mingye stared at him with her big watery eyes. Do you know about the spiritual stone grass? I don't know. After Lin Muyu finished speaking, he suddenly realized that in his short memory, there seemed to be traces of the spiritual stone grass, so he asked, "Why do you ask about the spiritual stone grass?" Grandpa's leg was broken by a bad person. I want the spiritual stone grass as medicine to treat Grandpa. Tisk, how old are you and you still want to treat people? Lin Muyu smiled disdainfully. Li Mingye did not speak anymore. Her big watery eyes stared at the rabbit meat in Lin Muyu's hand, and she only swallowed her saliva. Lin Muyu looked up and felt a little annoyed. She tore off another rabbit's hind leg and placed it in front of the girl, saying, "Eat this. After you're done, spend the night in the cave over there. Leave at daybreak tomorrow. This is not a place you should be in." "Thank you, Immortal." Li Mingye took the rabbit leg and thanked him happily, then began to reject it, and in the blink of an eye she finished it. Lin Muyu secretly complained how could this child eat so much, so he tore off another big piece of rabbit meat and handed it to her, saying, "Here, this is for you too." Li Mingye's face was full of joy. "Thank you, you really are an immortal." Grandpa said that the gods in the empire are good people who pity the state of the universe. They save the suffering and enlighten the lost. Really? Okay. Lin Muyu sneered, although she did not know why she sneered. Late at night, Lin Muyu found some hay to spread in the cave, so that Li Mingye could sleep well, while he leaned against the stone wall, searching for the power in his body, but it seemed that all the power in his body was sealed. He could feel the waves of divine power in his Yi, but he could not summon a single strand of divine power, as if the power had been forgotten, and he could only use a little true qi. Sigh. He sighed, looked at the starry sky and muttered to himself, "Who am I? Why am I here? Who am I?" Immortal. Beside him, Li Mingye turned over in her sleep, hugged Lin Muyu's wrist and said with a sweet smile, "I saw an immortal, I saw an immortal, immortal." Lin Muyu could not help but smile lightly. "I am an immortal? What a joke. What a fool." The next day at dawn, Lin Muyu roasted another wild rabbit, and after sharing it with the girl said, "Okay, let's go our separate ways. You go find your spirit stone grass, I go find mine. Immortal, what are you looking for?" the girl asked with wide eyes. "None of your business." Lin Muyu had even forgotten who she was, so naturally she felt very annoyed and said, "Don't bother me anymore." Li Mingye looked wronged, said, I just want to help you." "Help me?" Lin Muyu sneered. "Didn't you say that I am an immortal? Immortals are omnipotent, why would I need your help?" Yes, immortals are omnipotent." Li Mingye clapped her hands and laughed. "Then Immortal, can you tell me where the spirit stone grass is?" "I don't know." Lin Muyu was about to break down and pointed to the front. "You go east, I go west, and we won't disturb each other." "But Immortal, you are pointing to the south." "Me." Lin Muyu's state of mind was undoubtedly broken at this moment, and with a leap, his feet flew over the small hill like the wind, and in the blink of an eye, he was already a few miles away, shaking off the little girl behind him. "Omnipotent Immortal." He laughed coldly. "If I am omnipotent, I will know who I am." "Immortal. Immortal." Li Mingye's voice echoed in the forest for a while, and she finally gave up looking for the immortal and found the broken bamboo pole. Although it was already broken, it was her only weapon. Grandpa said that there were many snakes in the mountains and she still needed to rely on the bamboo pole to fight them. The girl's straw sandals were completely worn out, so she simply took them off and climbed the mountain rocks barefoot. Spirit stone grass was said to be a type of herb that grew in the cracks of the rocks, and it absorbed the essence of heaven and earth to grow. Moreover, there were so many people who went into the mountains to collect herbs, so if she wanted to find the spirit stone grass, she had to go to the more dangerous mountains. Until noon, the girl was already halfway up the mountain in a place where there were few people. "Huh!" Li Mingye suddenly exclaimed. She saw a short pine tree in front of her, and there was a nearly 2 meters long snake coiled around it, blocking her way. "Go away, big snake." She used the bamboo pole to slap it with all her might, and the snake was not poisonous, so it was actually scared and slithered away with its tail between its legs. "Humph." The girl put her hands on her waist like a little general who had returned victorious. She walked forward and used the bamboo pole to push aside the branches and leaves of the pine tree. Impressively, she saw a fiery red herb growing in the cracks of the rocks and under the pine tree. At the end of the herb there were small red beads which were as round as a heart. Oh, what is this? Perhaps it's very valuable. The girl cheerfully uprooted the herb, wrapped it in a cloth and tied it around her waist. She continued forward, looking for the spirit stone grass. The next day, Li Mingye went down the mountain, but she did not find the spirit stone grass. She only found the fiery red herb on her waist, which was as clear as jade. The herb could not be dried for too long or else its medicinal properties would evaporate, so she had to go back early to let someone see what kind of herb it was and whether it was valuable. Chapter 625. Around noon the sun hung high in the sky above the blood abyss. Amidst the mountains a group of people was moving slowly. Some of them were wearing armor while others were wearing embroidered robes. However, each of them was riding a fine horse. The empire had been at war for close to 10 years, and horses had long become a rarity. Moreover, these very fine horses were even rarer. This group of people was clearly either rich or noble. There were more than 20 of them and they were meandering through the mountains. In the crowd, a warrior with a sword hanging from his waist was stroking his beard. His eyes were gleaming and it was clear that his cultivation was not low. This person was called Northern Qi Hong, and he was one of the retainers of the Northern Qi Prefecture in Bailing City. He was at the first level of the Heaven Realm, and the heavenly book at his waist was enough to prove his identity. Next to Northern Qi Hong was an old man around 70 years old. Although he was old, his face was full of vigor. He must have taken good care of himself. Huang Yuan, the #1 alchemist in Lingnan province, had the title of King of Medicine. It was said that not long ago he had refined a 9th-level medicine. This time, the Northern Qi Prefecture had sent a group of people to protect him in the blood abyss in order to find rare herbs. Sir King of Medicine. Hong of Northern Qi smiled respectfully. If we can find the longevity grass and refine the longevity medicine for Master Ing of Northern Qi, that will be a great accomplishment. Perhaps the old man will be so happy that he will immediately bestow upon you the position of governor of a province. Huang Yuan couldn't help but laugh. Whether or not we can find it will depend on luck. But Northern Qi's Master Ing is blessed by the heavens. I believe he will definitely find the longevity grass to extend his life. Northern Qi Hong nodded. Yes, if that is the case, the master will not need to use the heavenly book of life to extend his life. That goes against the heavens. Yes. The Northern Qi government had forced Tang Lan to her death at the old site of Bailing City, but this matter had always been hidden from the world. Most of the commoners who had witnessed the calamity had already died under Tang Xiaoxi's bloody claws. After the empire was rebuilt, the Northern Qi government immediately chose to pledge loyalty to Feng Jixing. Feng Jixing also needed someone to hold down the fort in Lingnan province, so he gave the head of the Northern Qi government, Northern Qi Ing, the title of chief administrator of Lingnan province, and ordered him to rebuild Bailing City. If it were not for the Northern Qi government, Bailing City would probably not have reached its current scale. It would have long been a dead city. However, Feng Jixing allowed the Northern Qi Prefecture to govern Bailing City, which made the Northern Qi Prefecture even more reckless and frivolous. The Northern Qi Prefecture established the Heavenly Book League, privately bought and sold Heavenly Book weapon embryos, and deceived their superiors and subordinates. Only the heavens knew how many heartless things they had done. It was not that Feng Jixing was unaware of this, but he was busy dealing with chaos everywhere and could not find the time to deal with the Northern Qi Prefecture. The mountain path was rugged. As they walked, they suddenly saw a girl limping down the mountain path. Her feet were a bloody mess, but her little face was full of stubbornness. She continued to walk down the mountain step by step. She held half a bamboo pole in her hand and there were tears on her face. She must have fallen and cried in pain. There is a girl in the mountain? Northern Qi Hong looked from afar and couldn't help but frown. Huang Yuan's gaze turned cold. He narrowed his eyes at the cloth bag hanging from the girl's waist and said, Sir Northern Qi, I think I have seen the herb hanging from the girl's waist in the pharmacopoeia. What rare herb is it? It is Heavenly Heart Grass, a level 10 herb. What? Northern Qi Hong was stunned. How is this possible? How could a mere girl have Heavenly Heart Grass? Who knows? There are remnants of Qin Yin's divine power in the Crimson Abyss. Perhaps it was this divine power that gave birth to many rare herbs. Otherwise, why do you think so many people would flock to the Crimson Abyss? What do we do? Do we take the Heavenly Heart Grass or not? Northern Qi Hong asked coldly. Huang Yuan's face was full of greed. Heavenly heart grass is the most precious treasure in the world. If we don't take it, someone else will. This girl is just a country girl and doesn't deserve it. Sir, Northern Qi heavenly heart grass grows in the Bloody Abyss, and the Bloody Abyss is within the borders of Bailing City. All of Bailing City belongs to the Northern Qi Prefecture. Naturally, this heavenly heart grass belongs to the Northern Qi Prefecture. We are just taking back what belongs to us. Haha, very well. Northern Qi Hong immediately urged his horse forward. He pointed from afar and said, "Hey girl, stop right there." Li Mingye had already begun to take the grass from the thorny area, but she still couldn't escape the eyes of these people. She stood where she was in a daze. She could see that Northern Qi Hong was an official. The 2 stars on his collar were not fake. She said respectfully, "Sir, you called me for something?" "Of course. What is your name?" "Li Mingye." "Where did you steal the grass on your waist?" "I didn't steal it," Li Mingye argued. "I picked it up in the mountains. I didn't steal it." "How dare you say you didn't steal it?" Northern Qi Hong's eyes were ferocious. "This mountain belongs to Bailing City. I am the guardian of Bailing City. This mountain is mine. You picked the grass on my mountain and you dare say you didn't steal it? Give it to me." "No." Although Li Mingye was young, she knew that the grass must be valuable. She held the heavenly heart grass and said, "This is the money for grandpa and mother's treatment. You can't take it." "How dare you?" Northern Qi Hong suddenly raised his horsewhip and lashed at the air. Pa! A bloody mark immediately appeared on Li Mingye's neck. Blood seeped out, but she endured the pain without making a sound. She covered the heavenly heart grass with both hands and ran into the bushes to the side. "You dare to run?" Northern Qi Hong pulled out his steel sword. He was ready to kill. He urged his horse to give chase. Li Mingye walked barefoot. How could she outrun a war horse? In the blink of an eye, Northern Qi Hong had caught up. "You're courting death." The steel sword fell from the sky and slashed at Li Mingye's back. If the sword fell, Li Mingye would almost certainly die. Just as the steel sword fell, a black shadow swept over from afar. Clang! The steel sword was knocked away, and the black shadow pierced into the rock behind Northern Qi Hong with a swoosh. With a buzzing sound, it was a long sword with a sheath. It was not pulled out at all, or perhaps it could not be pulled out at all. Ah! Li Mingye was so scared that her face turned pale. She turned around and saw a familiar figure. It was Lin Muyu wrapped in animal skin. He had already taken off his rusty armor and replaced it with a newly killed animal's skin. "Immortal! Immortal, save me!" The girl cried for help. "Immortal!" Northern Qi Hong could not help but laugh. "What kind of immortal are you? You're just a poor hunter." He spurred his horse forward with a shocking momentum. Lin Muyu faced him head-on, gathering the Xianxia in her arms. Just as Northern Qi Hong's sword was about to land, Lin Muyu spun around to avoid the attack. She swung her arms and landed a heavy blow on Northern Qi Hong's back. Bang! Northern Qi Hong groaned. He was in pain but not injured. Lin Muyu's Xianxia was at most at the 3rd tier of the Earth state. It would be difficult for her to hurt a heavenly realm warrior like Northern Qi Hong. But Lin Muyu took advantage of the situation and flew past. She grabbed the stellar sword with one hand and pulled it out of the rock with the scabbard. She leaped and hit Northern Qi Hong's shoulder heavily before he could turn around. Boom! The astral power burst forth. Lin Muyu's supreme divine power had been forgotten, but the sharpness of the astral tactics was still there. The power of the blade through the scabbard was still too much for Northern Qi Hong to handle, and he spat out a mouthful of blood. "Who are you?" Northern Qi Hong retreated on his horse and roared, "Do you know who I am? How dare you hit me?" Lin Muyu ignored him. She just looked at Li Mingye and asked, "What's wrong?" Li Mingye said pitifully, "They wanted to steal my herb." Here, Lin Muyu shivered. That herb was very familiar. It was the legendary Heavenly Heart herb. No wonder this person wanted to kill Li Mingye. It was the precious Heavenly Heart herb. "Immortal, do you know what herb this is?" "It's Heavenly Heart herb," Lin Muyu said lightly. "It's an herb that can bring the dead back to life. It's also the herb I'm looking for." Li Mingye smiled. "Immortal, are you looking for the Heavenly Heart herb to save someone?" "Yes." "Save who?" "A very important friend." "Who is she?" "I don't know." Lin Muyu fell into confusion again. Then this heavenly heart herb is for you. Li Mingya's little face was full of smiles. She was so innocent that she could not imagine the value of the heavenly heart herb. It was enough to feed her family for 10,000 years. Are you done talking? Northern Qi Hong's face was full of anger. If you are, shouldn't I make my move? At this time, a dozen Northern Qi mansion guards appeared behind Northern Qi Hong. He laughed coldly. Even a scum like you has the nerve to call yourself an immortal. How interesting. Little girl, I'll send you and your immortal to hell. Then shoot. The dozen guards shot their arrows at the same time. Lin Muyu hurriedly protected Li Mingye behind her. Her stellar sword danced with its scabbard to block the arrows. She shouted, "Run. Are you waiting to be shot into porcupines?" Li Mingye's face was full of panic. She held the heavenly heart herb in her arms and ran straight into the fields. There were rocks everywhere not suitable for war horses. She was a very smart girl. Lin Muyu quickly retreated. After a few leaps, she disappeared into the mountains following Li Mingye. Damn it! Bastard! Seeing that the heavenly heart herb was gone, Northern Qi Hong was furious. He shouted in a low voice, "Men, write a letter back to Bailing City. Ask Master Fan Yun to come and help us kill this kid." Yes. Behind him, Huang Yuan slowly approached. His eyes shone with a faint light. He said, "Wait, Sir Northern Qi Hong. Haven't you noticed that this person is very strange?" "What's strange about him?" "His blade is not out of its scabbard, but it is very powerful. Furthermore, his appearance is very similar to a legendary person. More importantly, his boots, they are commander-level boots made by the Empire 5 years ago. I remember them very clearly." "Sir King of Medicine, are you saying that this kid is the Lin Muyu sleeping in the blood-red abyss?" Northern Qi Hong was stunned. He could not help but laugh. "This is impossible, absolutely impossible." Before Lin Muyu fell asleep again, he displayed his divine power. He is a god. If he really was a god, I'm afraid I would have been killed just now. Yes, because of this. Huang Yuan's eyes shone with a fierce light. He said, "This proves that Lin Muyu's power has been sealed. If we don't kill him now, when will we?" "But Lin Muyu is Feng Jixing's brother. If we kill Lin Muyu, Feng Jixing, if we don't say anything, who in the world will know that we killed Lin Muyu?" "Okay, go and ask Master Fan Yun to come immediately." "Yes." Chapter 626. Bang! Yu Shu's letter was slammed onto the table. In the master's manor of New Bailing City, the Northern Qi Eagle's face was full of anger. His eyes were full of murderous intent as he said, "I have waited for so many years. Lin Muyu, you have finally appeared." Beside him, the eldest Northern Qi Yun said, "Father, since Lin Muyu has reappeared then, and he has lost his power, why don't we take advantage of this rare opportunity to get rid of him?" The Northern Qi Eagle said lightly, "If it was not for Lin Muyu's interference, your brother Northern Qi Huan would not have died so tragically in the White Leaves Forest. This enmity is irreconcilable and must be avenged. Venerable Fan Yun, this trip will depend on you." A martial artist who was about 40 years old with an arrogant face stood up and cupped his fists. "If it is really like what is written in Yu Yu's letter that Lin Muyu only has less than half of his cultivation left, this subordinate promises to bring back his head for Governor Darren. For years ago Lin Muyu turned into a god in the blood-red abyss and killed my master and dozens of my brothers. This blood feud will be avenged here." The Northern Qi Eagle nodded and said, "If the Venerable Sir really kills Lin Muyu, I am willing to recommend you as the Chief Staff Officer of Lingnan Province." "Thank you, Governor. Other than that, bring back Lin Muyu's stellar sword. Lin Muyu must have many treasures in his dimensional bag. The legendary Fushi's heavenly book may be among them. Once we find it, I will go with the Venerable Sir." All right. Not long after, under the protection of hundreds of cavalry, the Northern Qi Eagle and Fan Yun galloped out of Bailing City. The group looked serious and murderous. Crimson abyss, mountains and forests. It began to rain again. The rain pitter-pattered on the leaves. Lin Muyu held the unsheathed stellar sword as he sped along. Behind him, Li Mingye stumbled along. "Immortal, wait for me. Immortal, wait for me." Lin Muyu suddenly turned around, his eyes revealing a cold glint. "Don't follow me, I've said it before, since I can pick heavenly heart grass in this forest, then there must be other heavenly heart grass. I will go look for them myself. You don't need to send me off. There's a small path to the north that leads straight to the foot of the mountain. take advantage of the fact that their people haven't caught up to us. Hurry up and leave, you're so weak. It would be a pity to die in this mountain. The girl hugged the heaven's heart grass, tilted her head and looked at him saying, Then if I leave and they come to seek revenge, they won't be able to find me and the immortals will be in trouble. Lin Muyu was annoyed and said, Didn't you say that I'm an immortal? Immortals are omnipotent, so it doesn't matter if they find trouble with me. But. The girl furrowed her brows and said, But the immortal doesn't seem to be able to defeat those people just now. Otherwise, the immortal would have already defeated the bad guy. Lin Muyu wanted to say something but stopped, his heart full of regret. He could feel the vast divine power in his body, but this power didn't seem to belong to him. He couldn't use it, as if it was something he had forgotten. Clenching his fists, he gritted his teeth and stared at the little girl. Anyway, hurry up and leave. Isn't your grandfather still waiting for you to treat him? Go, it's too dangerous here, not to mention those powerful people. Even the wolves in the mountains can eat you. Look at you, skinny as a match. How much strength can your fists have? Hurry up and leave, don't drag me down anymore. But the girl's eyes were already brimming with tears. She said, But grandfather said that immortals are omnipotent. They are all good people who save the common people and help the weak. Immortals can't just abandon me like this. Whoosh. Lin Muyu suddenly jumped in front of the girl, looking at her fiercely, his face full of annoyance. Power enshrouded his fists, stirring up the fallen leaves, but he still couldn't summon too much power. He said angrily, You see, this is all I can do. I can't beat them. I can't protect you. Hurry up and leave. Don't drag me down. But you are an immortal living in the mountains. The girl looked at him with great grievance. Sigh. Lin Muyu gritted his teeth. Don't follow me anymore. I'll go find the heavenly heart grass myself to refine medicine to save people. Don't die in the mountains. This knife is for you to protect yourself. Take the knife and leave. He raised his hand and pulled out a small demonic noise knife from his waist. At this time, Lin Muyu naturally didn't know that the demonic noise knife was a treasure. He directly threw the sharp knife into the rocks, piercing a few centimeters in. Li Mingye's pair of beautiful eyes were full of joy. It's a treasure bestowed by the immortal. She used all her strength to pull out the knife, smiling as she said, Immortal, do you know how to refine medicine? Immortal, teach me how to refine medicine, okay? However, when Li Mingye pulled out the knife and turned to look again, she only saw the figure of Lin Muyu leaping into the forest. The girl couldn't help but be disappointed. Holding the little demonic noise knife, she said, Immortal, you still haven't taught me how to refine medicine. I want to learn how to refine medicine to cure my mother's illness. Immortal, where have you been? At dusk, the rain stopped and the sound of horse hooves could be heard in the forest. Northern Qihong raised his sword and rode forward. Master Fan Yun, you've come. Where's he? Northern Qi Eagle said coldly. It's right in this forest. Northern Qihong smiled slightly. My black feather is following him in that direction. We can go there and capture him. There's no need to capture him, just kill him, Northern Qi Eagle lightly said. Lin Muyu is a sleeping dragon. If you can kill him in his sleep, then don't go looking for trouble. Someone prepare the heavenly book embryo. If Fan Yun the Venerable is no match for Lin Muyu, use the heavenly book to keep him in check. First use the wind element lower level heavenly book, then use the earth element middle level heavenly book and kill him in one move. Sir. A group of guards all pulled out their sharp blades, and a faint divine light floated on all of their blades. A number of them were of the heavenly book grade. In the blink of an eye, 4 years had passed. There were many people in the land who could write heavenly books, and there were even more who could write earthly books. Earthly books were no longer rare. Presently, it was the world of heavenly books, and as the foremost heavenly book family in Lingnan, the Northern Qi Prefecture did not lack for heavenly book embryos. In order to kill Lin Muyu, Northern Qi Eagle took out almost all of his wealth, using all 5 heavenly book-grade embryos he had written in 4 years. In the mountain forest, an agile figure climbed back and forth between the mountain rocks. It was Lin Muyu who carried the stellar sword on her back. A faint Xunqi light lingered around her battle boots. Each leap left a shallow footprint on the mountain rocks. Unfortunately, although the spiritual energy in the mountain was abundant and medicinal herbs grew everywhere, she still did not see the heavenly heart grass. When she leaped up, she suddenly saw a black shadow circling in the air. It was a falcon. It seemed that he had been circling above her for a long time. Lin Muyu couldn't help but furrow his brows. This falcon seemed to have ill intentions. Had she already been targeted? In a moment of distraction, her feet slipped and she lost her footing. Her entire body immediately fell down the rock wall. Her right hand trembled. In a moment of desperation, she condensed a faint king's fighting flame. Her hand grabbed onto the rock wall like a sharp claw. Only then did she stop her body. Whoosh whoosh. Looking down at the bottomless abyss, she couldn't help but feel a lingering fear. If she had fallen down, she would certainly have been smashed to pieces. After all, she wasn't a real immortal. Right, she didn't even know who she was. Perhaps she really was an immortal. Looking at the faint king's fighting flame that lingered around her palm, Lin Muyu couldn't help but smile. Her naturally optimistic spirit was useful at this time. If she really was a god, then she wouldn't be afraid of any mortal spying on her. At this moment, Lin Muyu glanced around and saw a green medicinal herb growing between the rock peaks. It emitted a faint fragrance. The appearance of this herb was very familiar. Yes, it was the spirit stone grass, a rare herb that could speed up the healing of bones. It was also the herb that the little girl had been looking for to heal her grandfather. That stupid girl. Lin Muyu smiled faintly and raised her hand to pick the spirit stone grass and put it into her bosom. If she could see the stupid girl again, she would give this spirit stone grass to her. However, in this forest of mountains, it would be too difficult to see her again. Kiki. The cries of the falcon in the sky became more and more mournful. Lin Muyu climbed up and stepped on a green rock. Looking up at the falcon, she frowned and said, "Who raised this feathered beast? I can't let it live." He picked up a small stone, slowly bent his body and suddenly threw it. Whoosh! The falcon in the sky screamed and rolled a few times in the air. Flustered and exhausted, it flapped its wings and flew down. It was injured, but it didn't seem to be fatal. Count yourself lucky. Lin Muyu's lips curled up. Jumping up to another rock, she continued to look for Heaven's Heart grass. Hey you! At the bottom of the mountain, Northern Chi Hong frowned and said, "Master, it's not good. Heiyu is injured. It must be Lin Muyu's doing. She has already discovered Heiyu's existence." "Where's Lin Muyu?" "On the east side of the mountain." "Good. Full speed ahead." "Yes." After nightfall, Lin Muyu's search for Heaven's Heart grass was fruitless, so he could only go down the mountain. Along the way, he used a stone to kill 2 wild rabbits and used them as food. He began to gradually familiarize himself with this body and felt the power in his body. However, he couldn't recall all of his abilities in such a short amount of time. After going down the mountain, he picked up a pile of firewood and used the king's fighting flame to light a fire. After skinning the wild rabbits and removing their innards, he placed them on the fire to roast. Then he gripped the stellar sword and slowly used force to pull it out. However, the blade was completely sewn and could not be pulled out. "It can't really just be a piece of scrap metal, can it?" he said angrily. However, Lin Muyu was completely unaware that in the forest behind him, cold poisoned arrows were already aimed at him, waiting to be fired. The sound of bowstrings being pulled taut mixed with the night mountain wind. Northern Chi Eagle stood in the forest in a black robe. Looking at the completely unaware Lin Muyu, he lightly said, "Release the arrows. Kill him." Chapter 627. Swoosh swoosh swoosh. The arrows rained down on Lin Muyu, catching her completely off guard. Her battle chi converged behind her, forming a suit of battle armor that deflected the arrows one by one. Clanging sounds rang out in the air. Oh no, he has battle armor. Northern Chi Eagle's intestines were green with regret. If he had known earlier, he would have ordered his attendants to use white drill arrows. "Draw your swords, go." A group of guards threw away their bows and arrows, pulled out their swords and charged forward. These were all attendants skilled in close combat, and they were also the strongest guards that Northern Chi Eagle had raised for many years. Lin Muyu stood up. Holding the stellar sword that could not be unsheathed, she looked coldly at the crowd and said, "Just who are you people? Why do you keep finding trouble with me?" A guard laughed sinisterly. "We are people who want your worthless life. Die." Sword light flew. There were a few Heaven Realm warriors in this group. Lin Muyu almost instinctively swung her sword to block. After the scabbard knocked away a guard's long sword, her body spun, and the hilt of the sword, which contained great power, slammed heavily into the guard's chest. Her battle boots flew out and sent the first Heaven Realm guard flying. It was clear that Lin Muyu's strength was recovering. Northern Qi Hong's heart chilled. 3 to 5 Heaven Realm warriors attacked together, but they couldn't do anything to Lin Muyu. He quickly turned to Northern Qi Eagle and said, "Master, Lin Muyu's strength is constantly recovering. I believe it won't be long before he recovers. Fan Yun, please attack immediately and kill Lin Muyu before his strength recovers." "Hey, that's what I was thinking." Fan Yun's gaze turned cold. He had already stepped out of the forest, and the pressure of his domain spread out in the surroundings. Immediately the guards who were fighting retreated. Rustle, rustle, rustle. The pressure of his domain made the gravel on the ground tremble. Fan Yun walked toward Lin Muyu with his hands behind his back like an expert. There was a faint smile on his lips. "Lin Muyu, do you still recognize me?" "Lin Muyu? Who did you say is Lin Muyu? And who are you? Do you know me?" Lin Muyu felt as if she had grabbed onto a life-saving straw. Someone actually knew who she was. "Pa, of course I know you. You massacred my sect. I haven't settled this debt with you yet." Fan Yun's domain pressure became stronger and stronger. Finally, with a bang, the animal skin robe in front of Lin Muyu's chest exploded. This kind of animal skin could no longer withstand the pressure of Fan Yun's concentrated force field. Immediately after, the stones around Lin Muyu also exploded. Lin Muyu naturally didn't feel good either. His body felt like it was about to be crushed. Although he wanted to resist, he didn't know how to do so. He had already forgotten how to condense pressure to resist a strong enemy's force field. After spitting out a mouthful of blood, Lin Muyu suddenly knelt down on one knee. However, she silently pulled out a small demonic noise blade from her waist and pressed it firmly into the grass. "Ah!" Fan Yun stepped forward, his face full of arrogance. He raised his right foot and stepped on the back of Lin Muyu's head. His laughter became even more arrogant. "Ah! God, this is a god. Is this the god Lin Muyu revered by the Empire as a god? Pa, you are so weak. I only need to use a little bit of strength to crush you into mincemeat. Poor thing." But at this moment Lin Muyu suddenly raised her hand and struck. The demonic noise blade slashed across Fan Yun's leg. Blood flowed. Fan Yun was caught off guard. His leg twitched in pain. Lin Muyu didn't say anything. Her left fist trembled. The king's fighting flame raged. She suddenly punched Fan Yun's chest and shouted, "Get out of my way." Bang! Under the heavy blow, Fan Yun flew back like a cannonball. He only stopped after smashing through a few large trees. Northern Qi Eagle, Northern Qi Ju and the others were dumbfounded. "Heavenly Book, use the Heavenly Book." Northern Qi Eagle roared, "Heavenly Book of the Law of Wind." "Yes, father." Northern Qi Ju raised his long sword. Divine runes appeared on the blade. In the sky, a divine power pierced through the clouds and descended. Immediately the surrounding air seemed to condense. In the next moment, a storm raged around them. The wind blades were like knives, scraping against Lin Muyu's body. "Wah!" Lin Muyu let out a muffled groan. She knelt on the ground. The ground around her was cut open. Her battle armor was desperately gathering power to save her master's life. 10 seconds later, Lin Muyu was riddled with wounds. Her entire body was covered in wounds caused by the Heavenly Book of the Law of Wind. The small valley she was in was a complete mess. The grass had been plucked clean, and the ground looked like it had been cut by a knife. "Heavenly Book of the Law of Fire." Northern Qi Eagle shouted. One of the guards raised his arm. Divine runes revolved and the power of heaven and earth was activated. Immediately, a rain of fire fell from the sky and began to burn the pitiful Lin Muyu. The scorching heat was enough to kill. Lin Muyu hugged his head and rolled around on the ground like a wild beast. He didn't know how to resist the power of the Heavenly Book. He couldn't think of anything. The Forgotten Realm was like a curse that imprisoned his cultivation. After the flames raged, Lin Muyu fell miserably in the sea of fire. Northern Qi Eagle laughed coldly. "He's done for. Someone give me another Heavenly Book of the Law of Earth." "Yes." A pillar of indigo light rose up into the heavens, and the earth tremored violently as a series of rock spikes erupted from the ground like the gaping maw of a gargantuan beast. Countless rock spikes struck Lin Muyu's body, and he was bleeding profusely as his suit of battle armor crumbled one after another. He was completely unable to withstand this fearsome power. "All right, he's about to die." Northern Chi Eagle said indifferently, "Follow me." Yes. When the power of the heavenly book disappeared, the rock spikes turned to stone powder. Lin Muyu collapsed in the stone powder. Northern Chi Eagle walked forward and pulled out the Qingkuan pouch from his waist. He reached into the pouch and finally pulled out a golden heavenly book. It was the legendary Fuxi heavenly book. It's the heavenly book. It's the Fuxi heavenly book left behind by the god Emperor Fuxi. I found it. Northern Chi Eagle seemed to have found a treasure. He trembled with excitement. I found the heavenly book. Flipping open the heavenly book, lines of words immediately came into view. At this time Northern Chi Ji walked forward, pulled out his long sword and pressed it against Lin Muyu's chest. "Father, then. I will finish him off to avenge my second brother." "Wait." Northern Chi Ji flipped to the last few volumes of the heavenly book but couldn't see a single word. He couldn't help but say, "This is a wordless heavenly book. I still have things to ask Lin Muyu. Tie him up and break his sea of energy." "Yes." Northern Chi Ji smiled slightly. The blade of his sword swept across and pierced through Lin Muyu's sea of energy. Immediately Zhenqi flowed out. Following that he used the tough nihility ox tendon to bind him tightly. The nihility ox tendon was resistant to water and fire. It was a good material for bowstrings, but it was also excellent for binding people. The more one struggled, the tighter it became. It was impossible to break free. At night, everyone set up camp in the cave. They threw Lin Muyu into the innermost part of the cave. After splashing water on him, he still did not wake. His injuries were too serious. Not long after, everyone became drowsy. Outside the cave, the fire flickered. Lin Muyu slowly woke up. He felt pain all over his body. He struggled for a while and then gave up. His state of mind was a mess. Fan Yun said he was a god, but how could a god be reduced to such a state? At this time, a rustling sound came from behind him. It was as if someone was cutting the nihility ox tendon binding him. Turning around, he saw a familiar face. It was that little girl, Li Mingye. Li Mingye made a quiet gesture. She then held the little demonic knife that Lin Muyu had given her and slowly cut the nihility ox tendon. Fortunately, it was a sharp demonic knife. If it had been any other dagger, it would not have been easy to smoothly cut the nihility ox tendon. Patter. The nihility ox tendon broke one by one, but the closest guard was only a few meters away. Lin Muyu could not summon up any strength in his body. The remaining Zhenqi in his sea of energy had all been drained. Li Mingye stretched out her hand and pointed behind her. In a small voice she said, "There is a cave in this cave. We'll crawl out from here. Be quiet, Immortal." At this time when Lin Muyu heard Immortal, he immediately felt it was particularly ironic. If he really was someone, why would he need a girl who had no strength to truss a chicken to save him? Li Mingye acted as Lin Muyu's walking stick. Supporting him, she slowly slid into the cave. They followed the cave for about 1 or 2 li and immediately appeared on the other side of the mountain range. Immortal, were safe. The girl happily spun around on the grass. She waved her hands and feet as she took out the sky heart grass from her waist. "Immortal, I'll give this to you. You need it so much." "No, I'll get it myself." Immortal is so stingy." The girl pouted. Lin Muyu thought of the sky heart grass. Unfortunately, it had already been crushed by the heavenly book of the law of wind. Otherwise she could have given it to the girl to treat her grandfather. At this moment, a torch suddenly flickered in the distance. The sound of horse hooves rang out. Northern Chi's eagle Fan Yun and the others had caught up. "Hurry up and leave. I'll hold them off." Lin Muyu opened his hands, but he could not summon up any strength. Li Mingye widened her eyes in panic. "Immortal, we can't escape, can we?" The war horses came very quickly. In the blink of an eye, the people of Northern Chi had already surrounded the two of them. "You still want to leave?" This little girl is really a hindrance." Fan Yun snorted coldly and suddenly opened his palms. An invisible force whistled through the air. Immediately, Li Mingye was caught in Fan Yun's hands. Her face flushed red. She whimpered, "Immortal, save me." "He's an immortal?" Fan Yun could not help but laugh. "He's just a useless piece of trash right now." "No, an immortal is omnipotent." Li Mingye argued loudly. "How annoying." Fan Yun suddenly swung his arms. Suddenly, Li Mingye's body crashed into a distant tree and there was no sound. Lin Muyu gritted his teeth. A blood-red power circled in his eye. He clenched his fists and roared, "You bastards, why do you want to kill the innocent?" Bang! Fan Yun heavily slammed his palm into Lin Muyu's chest, directly pressing him into the rock wall behind him. The rock layer cracked. Fan Yun laughed sinisterly. "Lin Muyu, you're not a god anymore. You're just a piece of trash. What right do you have to be so arrogant?" As he spoke, Fan Yun raised his left hand. A black long sword, sheathed in its sheath, pierced Lin Muyu's left shoulder, nailing him to the rock wall. Blood splattered everywhere. That long sword was Lin Muyu's stellar sword. "Hey trash. You're a god?" Fan Yun laughed loudly. He opened his right palm and flames soared into the sky. This palm was filled with murderous intent. Presumably, he wanted to use the power of the law of fire to send Lin Muyu on his way. "Don't hurt him." Behind him, a petite figure rushed over and slammed heavily into Fan Yun's back. Li Mingye cried out and was sent flying by the impact of her battle armor. "You annoying fly." Fan Yun was unable to restrain his anger. He pressed his palm down and immediately, a chain of fire wrapped around the girl. So painful. The heavenly heart grass in the girl's hand was turning into ashes. The flames engulfed her beautiful face and body, but she still widened her eyes and looked at Lin Muyu on the rock wall. Immortals are omnipotent. Tears flowed out of Lin Muyu's eyes as she let out a cry like a wild beast. For her, there was nothing he couldn't do. Hong! A golden light shot out, and the supreme divine power returned to Lin Muyu's body like a storm. His eyes were slowly plated with gold. At the same time, dragon scales covered in flames flew out from the alternate space and condensed inch by inch around Lin Muyu to form a suit of armor. This was the armor of the awakened Acatosaurus. Pooh! Pulling out the long sword from his shoulder, Lin Muyu roared crazily. The stellar sword was slowly unsheathed and a golden light soared into the sky. "All of you must die." Chapter 628. Heavenly Realm, Pond of Illusion. In the image in the pond, a soul shadow slowly flew up from Li Mingye's body. That beautiful face seemed familiar. She looked at Lin Muyu with a smile. Her gaze was full of longing. Her body was involuntarily sucked into the sky. Xiao's nose turned sour as she watched. Tears trickled down her cheeks as she said, "If Ayu knew that she was Qin Yin's reincarnation, how regretful would he be?" The seven luminaries' demon emperor's expression was solemn. He said lightly, "You doesn't know that she is Qin Yin. Qin Yin also doesn't know that he is you. Everything is destined by fate. Qin Yin died as a god and has now escaped into the six paths of reincarnation. The human path, the animal path, the Azura path, the ghost path, the purgatory path and the heavenly path are all human paths." Sigh. He paused and then said, "However, without Qin Yin's sacrifice, I'm afraid you would not have been able to break through to the Forgotten Realm and truly form this supreme destiny." Xiao was silent. Boom. An enormous dragon crystal with a radius of dozens of meters fell from the sky and crushed a group of northern Qi cavalry. The dragon crystal fell to the ground and created a powerful impact that threw a group of cavalry nearby into a complete mess. Lin Muyu wore dragon armor formed by Acatosaurus. There was not a trace of emotion in her golden eyes. She raised her long sword and suddenly cut through the air. Ah! Fan Yun was dumbfounded. He quickly raised his arm. The light from the embryo of the sword shot into the sky. It was an exquisite book of the laws of ice. Immediately, a huge ice shield formed in front of him. Boom! The sword chi cut through the air, splitting the ice shield and Fan Yun's body in two. Fan Yun didn't even have time to make a sound before he was killed. He probably didn't think he would end up like this. "Father, let's go." Northern Qi protected the Northern Qi eagle and fled in panic, but how could they escape? In the sky, golden clouds covered the sky. Lin Muyu stepped on the void and with every step she took, golden god force rippled outwards. In her EC, a golden godhead slowly condensed, an endless god force flowed into Lin Muyu's body. The supreme godhead's god force far surpassed the other four grades of godheads, and the destructive power it could produce was naturally earth-shattering. Suddenly Lin Muyu raised her left hand, and it was as if all the stars in the sky were grasped in her hand. A purplish-red blazing sun appeared in her palm. It was the sixth form of the astral arts. Purple sun shakes the earth. Lin Muyu had been in slumber for 4 years, and the Supreme Sovereign Personality had also been dormant for 4 years. This was enough time for Lin Muyu to comprehend the higher level of the astral arts. The rays of the violet sun illuminated the night as bright as day. Lin Muyu stared at the ground with his golden eyes. At this moment he was like a god looking at the ants on the ground. All life and death was in his hands. Buzz. With a wave of her arm, the energy of the violet sun fell onto the ground. Ah! The light came closer and closer. When the Northern Chi Eagle, Northern Chi Ji and Northern Chi Hong turned around, their faces were pale. This was God's punishment for the human world. There was no way to avoid it. Boom! A semicircular explosion spread out on the ground. The energy of the purple sun shakes the earth spread out with a destructive force. The Northern Chi Eagle, Northern Chi Ji and the others were instantly turned into ashes. Even the ground, forests and mountains were blasted into a basin. What more, these people's bodies of flesh and blood? An abyss with a radius of several hundred meters appeared in the crimson abyss. The sixth form of the star incantation's destructive power was a little too strong. Its power was almost equivalent to a large-scale magic crystal cannon shell, and its destructive power was even stronger. There was no one left alive in this forest. With the recovery of her divine power, Lin Muyu's memories had completely recovered. She murmured, "Xiaoyin, where exactly are you?" The golden divine light around her body slowly dissipated. Lin Muyu shed his supreme beginner god form. The golden light in her eyes also faded. The dragon armor broke down and turned into a Catasaurus. With a howl, it fell to the ground with its master. Lin Muyu picked up her Qianquan bag from the ground. The things inside were all there. The Northern Chi Eagle did not touch them. He found a white robe from the bag and put it on. He looked completely new. Then he found Li Mingye's charred body among the corpses and ashes. He wrapped it in a cloth. Carrying her body, he leaped into the air and entered the realm of controlling the air to fly. The cloak behind him flapped. Lin Muyu flew faster and faster. There was a boom behind him, creating a sonic boom. This proved that his flying speed had surpassed the speed of sound. However, his divine power was still enough. As he continued to increase his speed, the plane in front of him suddenly began to have layers. It was as if countless blocks had appeared in front of him, allowing him to pass through them. Was this the power of breaking through the void? The power of the fourth dimension? Swoosh! In the blink of an eye, he had already appeared 20 miles away. This was probably the furthest teleportation distance that a cultivator at the first level of the godly state could achieve. In the middle of the night, Lin Muyu descended from the sky and landed in the quiet town. According to what Li Mingye had told you earlier, her home should be here. Lin Muyu carried Li Mingye's body and slowly walked through the town. Finally, she met a night watchman. She asked respectfully, "Sir, may I ask, where is Li Shu's home?" Li Shu. The night watchman raised his lantern and found the 3 shining stars on Lin Muyu's collar. He was immediately scared out of his wits. Those who could have 3 stars were at least high-ranking officials of the general rank. He had never seen one. However, he did not know that Lin Muyu was the Qin king of the 3 kings. Otherwise he would have fainted. "Li Shu, it's the last family on this street. It's the family of Qingmu's sect." "Oh, thank you very much." Lin Muyu carried Li Mingye's body and walked straight to the house. As expected, there was a house with a green door. Li Shu's leg was injured. He did not knock on the door and jumped into the yard. He knocked on the door of the hut and said, "Is anyone there?" "Who is it?" Li Shu woke up from his sleep. Lin Muyu said, "Li Mingye, she passed away. I'm here to send her home." "Ah, my granddaughter. She..." The old man rolled down from the bed and stumbled to open the door. He saw Lin Muyu carrying Li Mingye's burnt body. Lin Muyu was wearing the armor of a high-ranking military officer. There were even golden purple flowers on her cloak. However, the old man no longer had any respect for her. He recognized Li Mingye's face and knelt on the ground, crying. Lin Muyu also knelt in front of Li Mingye's body and said, "Old man, she was a good girl. She was killed by the bad guys to save me. Don't worry. I'll take care of you for the rest of your life." As she spoke, Lin Muyu took out a gold note and slowly placed it on the ground. "This is 100,000 Jinin coins. It's enough for you and Mingye's mother to live for the rest of your life. When I return, I'll send someone to bring you to live in Lanyan City in the capital." "Can this money buy back Mingye's life?" The old man's voice trembled. Oh. Lin Muyu's heart ached. She knelt to the old man and said, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I couldn't protect Mingye and let her die. Who are you? My name is Lin Muyu. You. The old man was terrified. You're the Qin King Lin Muyu? The Qin King? Maybe. Lin Muyu said lightly. Qin King. He has ascended to become a god. Are you a god? I think. Yes. My god. Li Sui quickly stood up to help Lin Muyu. A god shouldn't kneel to a mortal. I can't accept it, no. Lin Muyu said, humans and gods are one. There's no difference at all. Old man, I've wronged Mingye. I hope you can forgive me. But I've already killed the person who killed Mingye. I've avenged Mingye. That's good. Li Sui's voice trembled. Your Highness, you're the hero who defeated the demons. If it weren't for you, Lingnan would have become the demons' territory. You saved the world and humanity. You don't have to feel guilty about anyone. It's her honor to die for your Highness. No, she didn't have to die for anyone. Lin Muyu bowed deeply again and said, I'll be leaving soon. Please take care, old man. Soon, the valiant Dragon Legion will send someone to pick you and Mingye's mother up to live in Lanyan City. You won't have to worry about food or clothing for the rest of your life. Thank you, your Highness. The old man kowtowed again. When he looked up, he found that Lin Muyu had already stepped into the void and disappeared in the wind. The old man was dumbfounded. He murmured, Is that a god? After forming the supreme godhead, Lin Muyu had already sensed that Qin Yin's aura was no longer in the Crimson Abyss. Even her godhead fragment had disappeared with the passage of time. There was no longer any need to stay in the Crimson Abyss. However, he heard that Tang Xiaoxi was not dead, so the most important thing was to find Tang Xiaoxi and find out what happened back then. Moreover, Tang Xiaoxi's fate was unknown, and that worried Lin Muyu. He still believed that Tang Xiaoxi would not betray Qin Yin, just like how Qin Yin believed the same. There had to be a reason for everything. After finding out from the countryside that Feng Jixing was guarding Lingnan's Sunset City, Lin Muyu flew through the night towards Sunset City. Although flying consumed a lot of divine energy, it was much faster than riding a warhorse. She flew for 2,000 miles in one night, and by daybreak she was already in the sky above Sunset City. Swoosh. He landed in the city. Sunset City was still the same as before. A group of peddlers selling sesame seed cakes and youtiao stared with their mouths agape at this person who had descended from the sky. Everyone knew that even Saint Realm experts were unable to fly. There were only two types of people who could descend from the sky. One was a birdman and the other was a god. The young man before them was clearly the latter. Lin Muyu did not look at everyone's astonished gazes and went straight to the Sunset Palace. The Sunset Palace was still as glorious as before, but the decorations were a lot simpler. The glass palace lanterns had been moved away, and a group of soldiers wearing the Imperial Guard's military uniforms stood guard outside. When they saw Lin Muyu, they could not recognize her, but they recognized the military uniform. Sir, may I know who you are? Lin Muyu pays her respects to Prince Exin Feng Jixing. Huh. The group of soldiers' jaws almost dropped to the ground. Lin Muyu. Qin Wang. Qin Wang. Chapter 629. The signboard of the Sunset Palace had been changed to Prince Xian's manor. In a pavilion deep in the manor, the guards had all been sent away. A person was sitting on the ground in the pavilion, and streams of divine heaven realm profound strength circled around his body. A faint golden glow appeared on the surface of his body. This was the outward appearance of a descending arhat at the 7th level of the Vajra physique. This person was none other than Feng Jixing. Huh. Feng Jixing opened his eyes abruptly. His spiritual senses had already sensed an extremely familiar aura approaching. However, it was different from the original aura. This aura was indistinct and contained a vast power source of righteousness. It seemed to be Lin Muyu's, but it was not the original Lin Muyu. You? Feng Jixing was stunned for a moment. He flipped over and stood up, not even taking the wind slasher saber that he had placed on the tiles. With a single leap, he leaped out several tens of meters, heading straight for the outside of Prince Exin Manor. Outside the manor, a group of guards were kneeling, all of them wearing respectful expressions. Before them was Lin Muyu. 4 years had passed in the blink of an eye, and Lin Muyu's disposition and power had undergone a tremendous change. Even Feng Jixing could not tell how strong she was. Right now Lin Muyu was like an abyss that had existed for 10,000 years. She did not reveal her abilities, but she was calm and composed. With a flash, Feng Jixing hugged his good brother. He was extremely agitated. I thought that you had already died in the Crimson Abyss. Lin Muyu smiled and said, how could that be? You. Feng Jixing let go of Lin Muyu. He could see the faint golden flowing light on the surface of Lin Muyu's body and asked, you've already stepped into the divine level? Lin Muyu nodded. That's great. Feng Jixing clenched his fists and said with a smile, the first of us 4 heroes of Lanyan to step into the divine realm has finally appeared. Needless to say, you won't ascend, right? Lin Muyu's expression was gloomy. Before I find Xiaoyin, I will not ascend to the heaven realm. Big brother Feng, it's all thanks to you, otherwise the empire would have been torn apart. Feng Jixing patted him on the shoulder. Come on, let's go in and have a few drinks. We'll talk slowly. All right. Under Feng Jixing's orders, the maids of the Wang residence quickly placed a table full of delicacies on the stone table in the courtyard. Fine wine was served and the sounds of horse hooves could be heard from outside the residence. Zhang Wei, Luo Yu, Qin Xiaoli and the rest had all heard the news and came over. Greetings, Emperor Qin. Greetings, Your Highness Prince Exin. The few generals bowed respectfully. No need for formalities, Lin Muyu said. Zhang Wei looked at Lin Muyu's calm demeanor and could not help but smile. He said, it seems that Emperor Qin has already proven his Dao and become a deity, right? Yes. Lin Muyu thought of Li Mingye who had died for her and said, it's just that my Dao is full of sacrifice and guilt. Feng Jixing said, let's not talk about those unhappy things. Since everyone is here, let's have a drink together. All right. Everyone gathered around the table. After a round of drinks, they started to talk business. Lin Muyu asked, I've been sleeping in the Crimson Abyss all these years to collect Her Highness Yin's divine power shards. I know very little about the Empire. How is it now? Luo Yu cupped his fists and said, Her Highness Yin's whereabouts are unknown, so, after we defeated the demon race, we decided on a national policy of 3 kings ruling the world. Commander Yu, you will be Emperor Qin, General Feng will be Prince Exin, and Commander Qin Yan will be Prince Zheng. In addition, we also conferred 4 dukes, namely Duke of the North Luo Exin, Duke of the South Xiang Yu, Duke of Wei Weichou and Duke of Zhongxing Yifan. In addition, there are 5 marquises, namely Su Jiantao, Beili Tsong, Tangzhen, Yao Yuan and Su Yu. The 3 kings rule the world, but Emperor Qin has been sleeping for 4 years. During these 4 years, Prince Exin and Prince Zhong have been ruling the north and south. Everyone is waiting for Her Highness Yin to return and rule the world. Hearing Luo Yu's last sentence, Lin Muyu could not help but be moved and said, yes, I am also waiting for the day Xiaoyin returns to my side. Feng Jixing looked at him deeply and said, if Her Highness Yin knew that you have such deep feelings for her, she would definitely be very gratified, right? It's just that, it is said that Her Highness Yin has already passed away. She has the overgod's godhood and has fallen. I am afraid that it will not be easy for her to reincarnate and find her past memories. I will not give up. Lin Muyu murmured, I will definitely bring Xiaoyin back to my side. What are your plans next? Feng Jixing smiled and said, Yan is guarding Lanyan City. He is well versed in martial arts, but he is quite clumsy in governing the country. Fortunately, Su Yu is assisting him so Lanyan City can be maintained without chaos. But this is not a long-term strategy. You should return to Lanyan City to take charge of the overall situation. The Empire needs you. Before Her Highness Yin returns, you should guard this country for her. Lin Muyu did not express his opinion and asked, how is the situation with the demon race? Qianfeng has retreated to Tongtian province. He is afraid of the power of the magic crystal cannons, so he is on the defensive. Our spies are unable to enter Tongtian Gorge, so we are unable to find any news about the demon race's fairies' capital. What about Xiaoxi? Is there any news about Xiaoxi? I have been sleeping in the blood-red abyss for so many years, but I have not sensed the slightest trace of Xiaoxi's aura. She must still be alive. Someone saw that princess. She was captured by the demon emperor and the sage master. Perhaps, Princess Xi is in the demon race's fairies' capital now, Zhang Wei said. What? Lin Muyu stood up in shock. Xiaoxi is in the fairies' capital? It's just a possibility. Feng Jixing emphasized. He was afraid that Lin Muyu would be rash and charge into the demon race alone. This was not a good thing. Even though he had already stepped into the god state, if the demon emperor, the sage master and Qianfeng joined forces, the chances of Lin Muyu winning were not high. I know which army is in Lingdong province. Duke Wei Weichou is in charge of the Longdan army camp and is guarding Lingdong province. Yes. At this moment, Lin Muyu had already made up her mind that Lingdong province would be her home. After all, Qin Yan and Qin Yin had been guarding Longyan City for 4 years. It would not be good if she replaced them. Moreover, Lingdong was closest to the demon race. Instead of waiting aimlessly for Qin Yin to appear, she might as well make use of this time to exterminate the demon race. Although the demon race was strong, Lin Muyu had stepped into the godly state as a supreme being. She exuded a natural domineering aura, as if the entire world was within her reach. Let me go back to Longyan City with you first? Feng Jixing said, many people want to see you. Yao, Yen, Siyu, Great Deacon Guyang and the others have all been worried about you for 4 years. You should go back to Longyan City first and announce to the world that the Qin Queen Lin Muyu has returned. This will also make the people's hearts lean towards you, right? Lin Muyu was not in a hurry. She nodded and said, we will set off after this drink. Help me find a fast horse. No need. I have kept your mount treading snow with me. Now that she is fully grown, she is very fast and can be said to be the best horse in the world. I will bring her to you later. Really? It's great. To Lin Muyu, treading snow was very special. Treading snow was born from Tang Xiaoxi's mount, Snow Pear, and it was given to her by Qin Yin. It was very meaningful. Qin Yin disappeared in the sky above the crimson abyss and did not leave anything for her. Treading snow was one of them. After eating and drinking, Feng Jixing arranged 1,000 light cavalrymen to escort him and Lin Muyu to Lingbei province. In fact, these guards were unnecessary. After all, between Feng Jixing and Lin Muyu, one was in the Saint Heaven realm and the other was in the first heaven of the god state. In the whole continent only they could bully others. Who would dare to bully them? Zhang Wei, Luo Yu and the others were left to guard Lingnan. In addition, Lin Muyu ordered Zhang Wei to personally lead hundreds of cavalrymen to Bailing City to pick up Li Mingye's grandfather and mother. They would settle down in Longyan City and make good arrangements. This was what he owed Li Mingye. Even though he could not make up for it, at least he could feel at ease. In the blood-red abyss, a wisp of soul slowly floated in the air. It was Li Mingye's soul. The little girl's body gradually grew and matured, turning into Qin Yin's appearance. Her memories returned to her Yi like a clear spring. Looking at the lush forest, Qin Yin suddenly let out a painful cry. She already knew that the Immortal, not long ago, was Lin Muyu. Her heart was filled with unwillingness. It would be good if she could call him, but unfortunately she could not do it. Fate played tricks on people. Bang! A blood-red door suddenly opened in the air. 2 ferocious-looking gods rushed out. One was holding a pipa and the other was holding a spear. They shouted, Qin Yin, the time for reincarnation has come. What are you still waiting for? Qin Yin looked at them with her eyes wide open. She was very scared. Who are you? The 2 of us are the people who will escort you to reincarnation. I am Qin Ming and he is Yu Wu. We are the gods of reincarnation in the heaven realm. Come with us. Your next reincarnation is about to begin. No, I won't go. I want to stay here. Qin Yin shook her head repeatedly. Her beautiful face was full of tears. She said, I can't leave brother Yu alone in this world. Qin Ming's eyes flashed with a hint of respect. He said, Lin Muyu has the sovereign latent personality. He will be one of the future rulers of the heaven realm. You don't need to worry about his future. You should worry about yourself. In the 6 paths of reincarnation, each has its own Tao. Your first reincarnation was achieved by sacrificing yourself. You have passed the test. However, there are still 5 more reincarnations. Once you pass all of them, you will be able to re-establish the sovereign latent personality. Cut the crap. Come with us. Qin Ming suddenly plucked the strings. Suddenly a sound wave rushed straight at Qin Yin. You. Qin Yin opened her palm. A golden light shot up into the sky. A heaven dragon crystal flew straight at Qin Ming. Boom. Although Qin Yin's overgod godhead was already broken, the broken godhead was still extremely powerful. It actually forced Qin Ming to retreat continuously. Qin Ming flew into a rage out of humiliation and said, "For hundreds of thousands of years, I have absorbed countless souls, but I have never seen a soul as powerful as yours. Very well, I will show you the power of my 9 demons array. You will get ready to capture her." Yes. Qin Ming suddenly plucked the strings. Suddenly the sound waves spread out in all directions. Rays of golden Xian energy emerged around Qin Yin. They were like ropes binding her tightly. Qin Yin struggled with all her might. The giant heaven dragon crystal guarded her body. However, she was still no match for the power of a god. The heaven dragon crystal shattered. At this time Yu Wu thrust the spear in his hand. The bells around the spear shook violently. In a blink of an eye, Qin Yin's soul was sucked into the spear. Then he swung the spear and Qin Yin fell into the darkness. Lights and shadows flew everywhere. Qin Yin was terrified. She saw birds and fishes appearing in the tunnel. She could hear the bellows of elephants and the roars of lions and tigers. One of the 6 paths, the animal path. Chapter 630. Her body turned into a beam of light and passed through countless stars like a meteor. Qin Yin could no longer see anything clearly. She could only hear the roars of beasts, the sound of fish swimming in the water, and the sound of eagles flapping their wings. After an unknown amount of time, a thick fog suddenly appeared in front of her. After passing through the fog, she saw countless animals roaring on the ground, and the beam of light that Qin Yin had turned into shot into the body of a green bird with a whoosh. Boom! Qin Yin's eye felt like it was about to explode. When she opened her eyes again, she was surrounded by darkness. She tried to use her palms to touch the space in front of her, but it seemed that she had lost her palms. What replaced them was a pair of tender wings. Her sharp beak involuntarily pecked at the hard shell in front of her. With a snap, a beam of light shone in. At this moment she understood that she had already reincarnated into a bird. Coo! Outside the eggshell, a huge bird was right in front of her, looking at her with loving eyes. It was a Xian swan, a bird that was good at fighting in the air. An adult Xian swan could even kill a goshawk that was larger than itself. In the sky, apart from dragons, Xian swans were the overlords of birds. At this moment, a hissing sound came from not far away. It was a giant python with spots all over its body. It was a flower iron python, a highly poisonous python and one of the overlords of the jungle. Kiki! Mother Green Swan screamed loudly, slapping hard with her wings and pecking hard at the flower iron python with her beak. However, the scales of the flower iron python were very thick, and it was a flower iron python that was more than 3,400 years old. It had become one of the spirit beasts, and Mother Green Swan had no cultivation at all. Obviously, she was no match for it. Hiss! The flower iron python abruptly bit Qing Hu's mother's leg and dragged her with its body. Qing Hu's mother screamed in agony, and her eyes were filled with love and pity when she looked at Qing Hu before she died. Qin Yin whimpered. The last memory and consciousness disappeared with the death of Mother Green Swan. At this moment she forgot who she was again. All she knew was that she was a bird. Hiss! The flower iron python swallowed Mother Green Swan in a few bites, then slithered its huge body closer. The little Xian swan struggled out of the eggshell, but there was nothing it could do. It could only look at the giant creature in horror. Whoosh! Arrows whistled through the air, piercing through the flower iron python's head. The big guy let out a muffled groan and slid down the tree, landing in front of a group of people. These people were all wearing military uniforms. Their uniforms were covered with armor, and their collars were adorned with shining golden stars. One of them got off his horse and kicked the flower iron python's body. He said with a smile, "Duke Wei's archery skills are truly one of the best in the world. To think that this 3,000-year-old spirit beast couldn't even withstand a single shot from you." Ha ha. The one riding on the warhorse was none other than Wei Chou. He put away his demon-devouring bow and said, "I didn't think that there would be such a venomous python in the bitter cold of Lingdong province. When we return to camp, tell the people in the Spirit Fire Department to be careful not to be attacked by the python. This 3,000-year-old spirit beast python eats people." Yes. At this time Situsen looked up at the tree branch and said, "Duke Wei, there seems to be a nestling on the tree. Generalson, go and take it down." "Okay, then you have to treat me to a drink." "Bah, I asked you to take a bird's nest and you want a free meal. I really look down on you." "Haha." Situsun jumped onto the tree trunk, held the bird's nest, looked at the young green gourd and said with a smile, "This is a newborn Xian swan. What should we do? Stew it tonight? Won't be enough." Situ Shui couldn't help but laugh and said, "Brother, that's enough. Quickly take down the Xian swan. The Xian swan is a rare bird. It flies fast and is aggressive. As long as it is trained well, not only can it serve as a messenger bird to deliver letters, but it can also be a bird of prey to intercept and kill messenger birds." "Why, sister, do you want to raise it?" Situsun jumped down and handed the bird's nest to Situ Shui. "Teskeitasi, look how cute it is." Situ Shui teased the little bird and said with a smile, "Duke Wei, give this Xian swan to me. I want to raise it." Wei Chou waved his hand and said, "General Shui, if you want to raise it, then raise it. Anyway, you have the final say. I can't stop you if you want to raise it. Anyway, since Commander Yu fell into a deep sleep in the bloody abyss, you and your sister have become lawless. Just don't raise a mammoth in the camp." "Oh, look at what you said. Mammoths have a big appetite, we can't afford to feed them. Let's go back. Today's hunt is over." It seems that there are no traces of the demon race within 50 miles of the steel wall. Qianfeng has decided to stay dormant. Well, that grandson Humph. Wei Chou turned over and mounted the horse. He pulled the reins and turned back to look in the direction of the bloody abyss in the southwest. He couldn't help but sigh and said, "I don't know when the Lord will wake up. If the Lord wakes up, we can launch a counterattack. Yeah, my star secret art has been stagnant. No one can guide me." Although Wei Chou was already regarded as one of the famous generals in the world, he still didn't dare to underestimate the enemy and advance rashly. The 200,000 Longdan army camp equipped with excellent magic crystal cannons didn't dare to enter Tongtian province. The only reason was that he was afraid of the scheming Qianfeng and the demon emperor. In front of a real commander like Qianfeng, Wei Chou still lacked confidence. Otherwise he would have attacked long ago. The weather in June was slightly sultry, but Longyan City was increasingly prosperous. Carriages of rare minerals and cloth were being transported into the city. The Zine Flower Merchant Association's flag was hung on the carriages, making them very eye-catching. Jin Xiaotang personally led a group of guards to the city gates to welcome them. This batch of resources was too important to the Zine Flower Merchant Association. Lin Muyu had been in a deep sleep for 4 years, so there was no one to provide the Zine Flower Merchant Association with top-notch weapons, medicines and weapon embryos. As a result, Jin Xiaotang had to take on everything by herself. Xiaotang didn't cultivate martial arts. After 4 years, she had turned from a little girl who had just grown up into a charming lady from a wealthy family. She wore a fiery red pomegranate dress and looked slender and elegant. She was like a beautiful scenery outside Longyan City's southern gate. Just then a group of cavalry galloped over from the main road in the south. The flag bearer was holding a flag of Lingnan's Sunset City. They were the people from Lingnan. Jin Xiaotang frowned and said, "Are there people from Lingnan again? I remember that His Highness Prince Exin had just left not long ago." A guard at the side said, "Miss Xiaotang, Lingnan is half of the empire. It's normal for them to have close relations with Lingbei. But look, that person wearing a golden cloak seems to be a prince. It's General Feng who has come personally." Jin Xiaotang's eyes narrowed as she smiled and said, "Then what are we waiting for? Let's go over and welcome him. If we serve His Highness Prince Exin well, the prices of Lingnan's rations and food will be reduced by at least 20%. All right, we'll head over right away." The Zine Flower Merchant Association was a business that belonged to Lin Muyu, and Feng Jixing was naturally familiar with Jin Xiaotang. When Jin Xiaotang went up to welcome them, Feng Jixing couldn't help but smile. "It's Miss Xiaotang. This commoner pays her respects to His Highness Prince Exin. There's no need to stand on ceremony. This time around I've brought you a big surprise." "Oh, what big surprise?" Jin Xiaotang smiled and said, "Could it be that it's 100 million caddies of Lingnan's premium rations? No, it's a living person." "A living person?" Jin Xiaotang was puzzled. Just then a person galloped over from the back of the group and asked, "Big Brother Feng, why has the group stopped?" When he appeared before Jin Xiaotang in the white imperial forest armor, Jin Xiaotang was stunned. Tears gushed out from her eyes as she dashed forward and threw herself into Lin Muyu's embrace. The little girl was really strong, pouncing Lin Muyu off the battle horse. However, it was fortunate that he was a god. Streams of golden light appeared under his feet, allowing him to carry Jin Xiaotang and hover in midair. His cloak fluttered slowly, appearing extremely handsome. "Oh, which clan's young lady is this?" Lin Muyu smiled and asked. Jin Xiaotang waved her fists and hit his chest while crying, "Big brother, you've been gone for so long. Many people have said that you've died in Lingnan. I've gone to the Crimson Abyss to see you once, but I couldn't find you. Why are you only back now?" Lin Muyu also knew that Jin Xiaotang must have had a hard time holding on for the past 4 years. She lovingly stroked Jin Xiaotang's long hair and said, "Hey, aren't I back now? I have something to do, so I can't come back early. Don't blame me, Xiaotang." Don't blame me, don't blame me." Jin Xiaotang wiped away her tears and realized that she was being held by Lin Muyu by the waist. They were hovering in midair and she was instantly shocked. We're flying? Yes, is it that strange?" Lin Muyu smiled and slowly landed on the ground. Feng Jixing said, "Miss Xiaotang, Ayu is a person with God state cultivation. He's a genuine god." But Jin Xiaotang couldn't help but blush. "Then I'm being hugged by a god." Lin Muyu. Feng Jixing. The spirit medicine division was very quiet in the afternoon. A group of medicine refiners were busy in the medicine refinery hall, and some other staff members were sorting and storing the medicine that had been refined. Chu Yao was wearing the Spirit Medicine Division's Grand Deacon's robe, and she was counting the number of boxes filled with medicine. These medicines were to be sent to the various armies of the Empire, so she couldn't be careless. Whoosh! Suddenly, a burning sensation came from behind her. Chu Yao instinctively turned around and flipped her index finger. Suddenly, a beam of starlight fell from the sky and landed on the place she was pointing at. Buzz! A golden divine power barrier appeared, forcibly deflecting the star-seizing finger's power. It wasn't damaged in the slightest. After the golden light dissipated, a familiar figure appeared in front of Chu Yao. "Big sister Chu Yao." "You." Chu Yao's body trembled and she couldn't speak. Lin Muyu walked up to her and hugged her tightly. Chapter 631. The next day, during the morning court assembly, the officials of Lanyan City gathered at Zetian Hall. The drumming outside the hall shook the heavens as if telling everyone that a major event had happened in Zetian Hall, and this major event was naturally the return of Lin Muyu. If there was no Lin Muyu, it would not be considered the Three Kings ruling era. Zheng Yifan held the jade tablet in his hand. He was already old, but because of his profound cultivation he did not appear slow. By the side, Zheng Fong respectfully followed his father up the gilded stone steps of Zetian Hall. Qin Yan stood outside the hall and greeted with cupped hands, saying, "Duke Xiong, you're here. This old subject greets your highness Qin Yan." Zheng Yifan returned the greeting and asked. The drumming in today's court assembly reverberated endlessly. "I wonder what happened. Can your highness tell me a thing or two?" "Of course." Qin Yan smiled faintly. "My big brother is back." "What?" Zheng Yifan's entire body trembled and he said in surprise, "Commander Yu, he's back?" Qin Yan nodded heavily and did not conceal his pride in the slightest as he said, "Big brother has returned with deity realm cultivation. Duke Xiong, please come inside. Everyone is already waiting." Yes. When Zheng Yifan and a few other old subjects walked into Zetian Hall, the officials in the court assembly were also almost all present. As one of the 4 dukes, Zheng Yifan was at the forefront of the court assembly. When he walked over, he saw the 2 princes Lin Muyu and Feng Jixing, currently whispering something in low voices. He went forward and said respectfully, "This old subject Zheng Yifan pays respect to your highness King Qin." Lin Muyu smiled faintly and raised her palm lightly, lifting up Zheng Yifan's arms like she was raising her hand. She said, "Divine Marquis need not be so courteous." "Duke Xiong need not be so courteous." Zheng Yifan said, "For your highness you to be able to return safe and sound, this is the fortune of the empire. This old subject is very gratified." Lin Muyu nodded. "Isn't it the fortune of the world that Duke Xiongwa is loyal to the country?" Facts had proven that even though Zheng Yifan was often said to be a disloyal subject, Zheng Yifan didn't do anything during the Battle of Songlin Valley. Unlike Tang Lan and Su Muyun, Zheng Yifan only wanted to protect his reputation as a meritorious subject of Soaring Cloud's pavilion. If Qin Jin hadn't pressured him too much, Zheng Yifan wouldn't have had any rebellious thoughts. What he wanted was not the world but the good reputation of a loyal subject. Not long after, the female official Shangguan Jingyue appeared with a sword in her hand. It was the Desolation sword that Qin Yi had lost when he was fleeing from the sword pavilion. It was the sword of the late Emperor Qin Jin, and also the national treasure that symbolized the emperor's authority. Now that Qin Yin's heaven-suppressing sword had disappeared, the Desolation sword had once again become the symbol of the 9 cauldrons, the symbol of the world's divine weapons. Lin Muyu, the emperor of Qin, has returned. From now on, the 3 kings will rule the world together. Su'er placed her hand on the hilt of her sword and walked up to the throne. She said, "Servants, bestow Lin Muyu, the emperor of Qin's imperial seal, the tiger tally and the sword." 3 palace maids walked forward with a golden tray and respectfully knelt in front of Lin Muyu. And Lin Muyu also knew the rules. Seeing the Desolation sword was like seeing Qin Jin. She respectfully knelt in front of Su'er and raised her hand to receive the rewards one by one. First was the Emperor of Qin's imperial seal. The imperial seal was stored in an extremely exquisite treasure box. When Su'er opened the lid of the box, she saw that there was a seal carved out of beautiful jade, and the sides were inlaid with gold. Su'er raised the jade seal and saw 4 large words and 4 small words engraved at the bottom. "Receive the mandate of the heavens, seal of the Emperor of Qin." This jade seal represented the greatest authority in the Qin Empire, and it was no different from the Emperor's seal. When Lin Muyu held the jade seal, he had mixed feelings in his heart. When the power of the world was at his fingertips, he would rather the person holding the jade seal was still Qin Yin, and he was just a commander protecting the empire. "Emperor of Qin, please receive the tiger tally," Su'er said respectfully. "Aunt Xia." Lin Muyu looked at her, and Su'er's expression was also very complicated. After all, the world originally belonged to Qin Yin and the Qin family, but now it had become the rule of the 3 kings. To a certain extent, the world had already changed dynasties. After receiving the tiger tally and the sword, Lin Muyu stood up and put the sword seal into her universe sack. Then she stood side by side with Feng Jixing and Qin Yan on the seat of honor at the front of the great hall. Su'er quickly walked down the stairs and stood behind Xiangyu. She was only one of the 5 marquises, and in terms of status she was inferior to Xiangyu, Luo Exan and Jin Yifan. There was also Duke Wei Chou, but Wei Chou was far away in Lingdong province and could not participate in the morning court. "Congratulations on your highness's return to the throne." The officials all knelt down and shouted, "Long live your highness." Lin Muyu did not feel good about it and stood rooted to the ground. Feng Jixing raised his eyebrows and said, "Since your highness has returned and the 3 kings are here, we can discuss any unresolved matters in the imperial capital." Firefinch Abbot Xiaohan immediately stepped out and cupped his fists. "Your Highness, I have already found out that the culprit who forced the 7 Sea King Tanglan to death in Hundred Ridge City was Lingnan Province's #1 Heavenly Book aristocrat, Northern Qi. I ask that your Highness immediately give the order to remove Northern Qi's eagle from his position as governor and wipe them out in one fell swoop." "No need." Lin Muyu waved her hand. "I just left Hundred Ridge City a few days ago. Northern Qi's eagle and Northern Qi's Jew have already been executed by me." "Ah." Xiaohan was stunned. "Your Highness, why did you kill them? Could it be that you already knew they were the masterminds behind Tanglan's death?" "No, I only killed them because Northern Qi killed the innocent." "Yes." Qin Yan smiled at the side. "Big brother, I heard that you killed the Empire's #1 enemy Luo Lan in the Blood-Red Abyss?" "Yes," Lin Muyu nodded. "Luo Lan wanted to find trouble, so I took care of him along with his disciples." "Good." Qin Yan clapped his hands and said with a smile, "In this case the Empire's only mortal enemy is the demon race. As long as we exterminate the demon race, we can complete the great cause of unification." "Yes." At this time Jin Yifan said, "Your Highness, King Qin has just returned to Lanyan City. I wonder what your plans are. I suggest that you use this free time to reorganize the Holy Temple's Spiritual Medicine Department and Heavenly Book Library. After Her Highness Yin ascended, the 3 departments have been in a mess. Only your Highness has the ability to reorganize them." "No, I still have other things to do." Lin Muyu looked at Jin Yifan and said, "Ah Yen and you, Divine Marquis, are enough to reorganize the 3 departments. I'm going to the east." "East?" Su Yu was stunned. "What are you going to the east for?" Lin Muyu could not help smiling. Could it be that Aunt Lien has forgotten that the Longdan army camp is my home? I'm naturally returning to the Longdan army camp in Winter Frost City. Moreover, annihilating the demon race also requires my strength, isn't it? The three kings rule the world. Yen guards the north, Big Brother Feng guards the south, then I'll guard the east and deal with the demon race. There's no need to discuss anymore. I've made up my mind. Yes. Su Yu and Jin Yifan saluted at the same time. Actually, everyone was very clear in their hearts that two tigers could not live on the same mountain. Although it was the three kings rule the world, if Lin Muyu stayed in the imperial capital, who would have the final say between him and Qin Yan? If that was the case, it would be better to go to Lingdong province. Moreover, Lingdong province's strategic location was too important. If the demon race wanted to send their troops, they would have to pass through Winter Frost City. There was no better candidate than Lin Muyu, who had stepped into the divine realm to guard Lingdong province. However, Feng Jixing did not say it directly. He did not want Lin Muyu to go to Lingdong province. After all, guarding Lingdong province would mean that she would have to fight to the death with the demon race. Moreover, Lingdong province's land was barren. It was the poorest province among the 12 provinces of the empire. The entire province's economic income was not even 1/10 of Longyan city's. It was obvious how poor it was. You have to think it through. Yes, I have. Lin Muyu turned to look at Feng Jixing and said, but Big Brother Feng, you can't be idle in Lingdong. Lingdong is a land of fish and rice. You must send a large amount of resources to Winter Frost City every month. In addition, all the major provinces of the empire should transfer an appropriate amount of people to live in Lingdong. Rebuild Lingdong province and make this province rich. Of course. In addition, Lin Muyu looked at the court officials and said, where is Xiling? At the end of the court officials, Qin Xiling walked out with a jade tablet in his hand and said, your subject is here. Lin Muyu smiled slightly and said, Xiling, pick some people from the Department of Armaments to go with me to Lingdong. We will smelt iron and forge magic crystal cannons in Winter Frost City. Otherwise, it will be too inconvenient to transport magic crystal cannons from Longyan City to Winter Frost City. Moreover, Lingdong province is backward and barren. We will need you to bring advanced iron smelting technology. Yes, your subordinate will obey. Qin Xiling was secretly delighted. It was his life's wish to serve Lin Muyu. Although the imperial capital was in Longyan City, Lin Muyu was the king of Qin, the head of the three kings. If he followed the king of Qin, his status would not be inferior to the court officials in Zetian Palace. In fact, he might even be superior. Whether it was official or personal, following Lin Muyu was definitely the right choice. Then get ready. We will leave early tomorrow morning. Yes. Feng Jixing said, I will transfer 5,000 elite soldiers from the Holy Temple and the Imperial Army to escort you and Xiling. Yes, thank you, Brother Feng. Tonight, I will stay at the Imperial residence in the north of the city. Okay, we will go as well to see you off. In the blink of an eye, it was night. Lin Muyu stayed in Longyan City for a day and was about to leave. He could not let himself be idle. He had to wander around and try his best to find the whereabouts of Qin Yin and Tang Xiaoxi. In the east, at least, Tang Xiaoxi was there. At night, in the Imperial residence in the north of the city, Lin Muyu, Feng Jixing, Qin Yan, Su Yu, Chu Yao, Jin Xiaotang, and the others gathered together and drank to their heart's content for Lin Muyu's farewell. After eating and drinking to their heart's content, Feng Jixing stood up, patted Lin Muyu's shoulder and said, since we are leaving tomorrow, then, let's spar. Let Brother Feng witness the power of a god. Lin Muyu looked at him with a smile. Brother Feng really wants to see the power of a god? Yes. By the side, Su Yu and Qin Yan also said excitedly, right. Brother Feng has already reached the pinnacle of the Holy Heaven realm and can step into the God realm at any time. It's just right for us to broaden our horizons. Chu Yao smiled and said, we can spar, but fists and feet have no eyes. You must be careful and stop when you go too far. Don't worry. Lin Muyu and Feng Jixing said in unison. Chapter 632. Buyuan Hunting Ground was the largest open space in the temporary imperial residence. It was about 5 miles in circumference, and there were some cloud deer, wild rabbits, chamois, and other small animals kept there for the new talents and old officials of Longyan City to hunt. But now it was the best place for Lin Muyu and Feng Jixing to learn from each other. These two guys were not to be trifled with, and their destructive power was extraordinarily strong. "Everyone, stay away," Feng Jixing said with some fear. He knew Lin Muyu's strength too well. When he was in the Holy King realm, he could challenge an expert at the first heaven of the divine realm with his twin martial souls and star arts. Now that he had also stepped into the divine realm, one could imagine how terrifying his strength was. Su Yu, Chu Yao, Qin Yan and the others were all masters, and Su Yu, the weakest among them, was already at the second heaven of the heaven realm. But because of Feng Jixing's words, all of them retreated far away, and watched the two peerless masters fight from about a mile away. The night breeze blew, blowing Feng Jixing and Lin Muyu's cloaks. Now Lin Muyu had also changed into a golden cloak embroidered with purple flowers, which was the symbol of royal power. She still had to take into account her status. Although Lin Muyu was undisciplined by nature, she had long learned the difference between different ranks in this chaotic world. Obeying the rules would save her a lot of unnecessary trouble. Lin Muyu smiled slightly, clenched her fists and said, "I am in the divine realm and Brother Feng is in the holy realm. It is not fair to begin with. I will let Brother Feng make 3 moves first." Feng Jixing raised his eyebrows and smiled. "Brat, are you really not going to draw your sword?" "There's no need." Lin Muyu laughed arrogantly. "Brat, you're too arrogant. Careful." Feng Jixing let out a low roar and a thick king's battle flame rose from his body. A Saint Heaven stage aura descended from the sky and crushed everything in the surroundings. Plants and rocks were instantly crushed into powder. However, under the destructive Saint Heaven stage aura, Lin Muyu was like a fish that had escaped the net. She was calm and relaxed, and the sovereign matrix in her EC released strands of golden divine power, which completely destroyed the Saint Heaven stage aura. "He's here." Feng Jixing suddenly crushed the rock under his feet. Becoming one with the blade, he attacked like lightning. The roar of the purple electric flame wolf soared into the sky. He lifted the wind cutter blade and fiercely struck. Suddenly, a storm of fire and lightning tore the earth apart and rushed towards Lin Muyu. The storm was at least 100 meters tall, and its momentum was terrifying. Su Yu, Chu Yao and the others were all dumbfounded. The group of guards on duty was so shocked that they retreated, afraid that they would be affected by this apocalyptic power. As the storm of fire and lightning approached, Lin Muyu's expression was abnormally calm. She suddenly raised her right palm and slashed at the storm. Bang! Lin Muyu's palm slashed the storm in half like a sharp blade. The storm that contained the power of the Saint Heaven stage was like a stream meeting a boulder, and Lin Muyu's cloak fluttered in the wind. Rays of golden light flashed around her. She didn't even use the dragon blood battle shield or the wall of the gourd to block Feng Jixing's attack. "Brat?" Feng Jixing was stunned. The 7th form of the windwalking saber arts was his famous technique, but he couldn't even touch a hair on Lin Muyu's body. This was a huge blow to him. He quickly took a deep breath to calm himself down. Wind blades whistled around the wind-cutting saber in his hand, and he leaped into the air. This time he attacked from the sky. The 8th form of the windwalking saber arts, Heaven-Hating Dao. In an instant, Lin Muyu felt like she was in a burning abyss. The power of Feng Jixing's Heaven-Hating Dao after reaching the Saint Heaven stage was completely different from before. When Lin Muyu raised her head, she felt like thousands of wind-cutting sabers were slashing down from the sky. She didn't know how to defend at all. However, Lin Muyu had the strongest defensive martial soul in the world. Instead of retreating, she leaped into the air and took out the 7 luminaries' celestial gourd. With a buzz, a dazzling golden light lit up the night, and a round gourd wrapped around Lin Muyu's body. This was the perfect defense. Clang, clang, clang. Sparks flew as the blades slashed down on the gourd. When all the wind-cutting sabers had been slashed down, the last one, the real wind-cutting saber, descended from the sky. Bang! The power of the Saint Heaven stage collided with Lin Muyu's sovereign god power. The gourd's wall finally couldn't withstand such a concentrated attack and collapsed. However, the rebound from the sovereign god power also forced Feng Jixing back. His blood flow was a little chaotic and he retreated dozens of meters with his saber. He couldn't help but feel his battle intent rise. What a perfect defense, brat. When they first met in the dragon-seeking forest, Lin Muyu couldn't even fight back against Feng Jixing. Now that the tables had turned, Feng Jixing actually felt very helpless. After breaking through Lin Muyu's defense, he had used up all the power in his saber, but Lin Muyu still had some energy left. If Lin Muyu had attacked just then, she would have had a high chance of killing him. In fact, the outcome of the battle had already been decided. But Feng Jixing knew that a true expert had to be trained through battles. To be able to have a peerless expert like Lin Muyu as an opponent was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Face and whatnot were secondary. Becoming stronger was the most important. Again. Feng Jixing let out a low roar. The purple electric flame wolf martial soul roared unceasingly, once again raising his strength to the pinnacle. Immediately, the wind cutter saber let out a wung 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 sound. Rays of purple wind blades continuously flew and cut the air, actually making pa-pa-pa-pa sounds. These wind blades seemed to have broken through the limits of space and could launch an attack from beyond space. Lin Muyu was stunned. This attack wasn't simple. He started to use the sovereign god power and he immediately entered his god form. His eyes turned golden and his body seemed to be plated with a faint golden light. Using his golden eyes, he saw that the laws of the four-dimensional space were being broken through by Feng Jixing's wind blades. This made Lin Muyu think of a term, dimensional wind. That's right, these were wind blades that had broken through the dimension. Feng Jixing's attack had probably far surpassed the power of a Saint Heaven Realm cultivator. No wonder this guy wanted to spar with her. He had actually cultivated such a powerful saber technique. This is the 9th technique of the wind cutter saber technique. I named it the demon god slash. You have to be careful. Feng Jixing said cautiously. He was also afraid that his saber would hurt Lin Muyu. After all, it was fine for brothers to spar, but it wouldn't be good if they got hurt. Don't worry, come. Lin Muyu smiled. Okay. Feng Jixing bellowed and he rushed over like lightning. However, when he was less than 10 meters away from Lin Muyu, Feng Jixing's figure suddenly disappeared. Lin Muyu was stunned. She took a closer look with her golden eyes and realized that Feng Jixing didn't vanish. Instead, he broke through the limits of his speed. His silhouette was so fast that it was almost impossible for a mortal's eyes to capture it. In an instant, tens of Feng Jixing's silhouettes attacked from all directions. The dimensional wind blades flew towards Lin Muyu's body. No, even the dragon blood shield might not be able to block this attack. If he couldn't block it, it would mean that he would be injured. Lin Muyu decisively used his supreme divine power and jumped into the spatial crack. The power of breaking through the void made it seem as if he had disappeared on the spot. Bang! The ground where Lin Muyu was originally standing became a deep pit. The crisscrossing saber light cut out countless small spatial cracks. The fact that Feng Jixing could cultivate such a technique was enough to prove how outstanding his martial arts talent was. Where is he? Feng Jixing raised his saber and took a few steps forward. His face was ashen. It's my turn. Lin Muyu's voice came from behind him. A beam of golden starlight shot up into the sky. It was the initial starlight. The starlight that Lin Muyu shot out with her bare hands was as terrifying as the initial starlight. Feng Jixing quickly turned around and raised his saber horizontally. With a deep growl, the 7th level of the diamond body defense instantly condensed around his body. Bang! A world-shaking strike. Under Lin Muyu's punch, Feng Jixing and his horse were pushed back nearly 100 meters. The soil and grasses on the ground splashed and danced in the air. This simple punch seemed to be able to destroy the world. Again. Feng Jixing's blood and qi surged inside his body, and his mind was a bit messed up. Instead of defending, he raised his saber and attacked. His left hand was holding a dimensional wind blade, and his right hand was preparing for the second, divine demon cut. With a deep growl, he attacked like a lightning bolt. His movement speed was too fast. It was as if the profound meaning of the wind element had reached perfection. Lin Muyu's heart sank. She raised her palm and used the 3rd move of the star scripture. 5 mountains descending from the sky. Bang! Dust flew everywhere. The golden divine power, flame and lightning mixed together and shot up into the sky. The entire ground was shaking. Even the walls of the palace in the distance had begun to crack. Good heavens, Chu Yao's pretty face was a bit pale. Don't tell me that you and Brother Feng are going to tear down this palace? No, this is only the beginning. Su Yu looked into the distance. A purple sun was reflected in her beautiful eyes. Lin Muyu slowly flew up from the ground. Divine power and ancient characters were faintly discernible around her. She raised her right hand and a purple flame appeared in her palm. It grew bigger and bigger and its power became more and more terrifying. It was the sixth move of the star scripture. Purple sun shakes the earth. It was easy to imagine how terrifying the purple sun shakes the earth was when it was infused with supreme divine power. When the purple sun had condensed to a radius of 1 meter, Feng Jixing suddenly sheathed his saber and shouted, "Ah, you stop fighting." "Ah, why not? I don't want to die yet." Feng Jixing laughed. Lin Muyu also laughed. She waved her hand and the power of the star scripture turned into spirit energy in the wind. The purple sun also disappeared. He floated down and landed on the ground. He said, "If Brother Feng steps into the god realm, he will definitely be a very powerful god." "Really?" Feng Jixing laughed. "I'll be counting on your auspicious words." At this time Chu Yao, Suyu, Qinyan and the others also walked over. Feng Jixing said, "The ancient records say that when mortals ascend to immortality, the godhood they form is divided into 5 levels. The 5th is the mortal godhood, the 4th is the heavenly Dao godhood, the 3rd is the immortal godhood, the 2nd is the master godhood, and the 1st is the supreme godhood. Her Highness Yin's godhood was the 1 in 10,000 master godhood. Which level is Yu's godhood?" Lin Muyu shook her head. "I don't know. You can easily kill Luolan, so it shouldn't be a mortal godhood." "I'm not too sure either. When I was in the blood-red abyss, my godhood suddenly awakened. Although killing Luolan was easy, I fell into a deep sleep for 4 years. When I woke up, I even lost my memory and forgot everything. It wasn't until the 2nd godhood awakening that I remembered everything." "Forgot everything?" Feng Jixing was startled and said in shock, Could it be that you formed the supreme godhood? Heavens, this is the supreme godhood that is 1 in 100 million. How would I know? Let's continue drinking. I don't know when we'll meet again. Let's go. Chapter 633. The Divine Realm. Lin Muyu held the silver noble that was provided by the military with both hands, nodded and said, "After stepping into the Divine Realm, a divine spark will be formed in the Yi. This divine spark is the crystallization of a lifetime's cultivation. The Yi will give birth to an endless stream of divine power and soul power. Coupled with the power provided by the martial soul, one's strength will undergo a rebirth. Secondly, after stepping into the divine realm, one's understanding of the plane's power will naturally break through and enter a new realm, that is shattering the void, the law of 4-dimensional power." Feng Jixing, Qinyan and Suyu listened with burning gazes. Feng Jixing said, And then, it's like this." Lin Muyu sat up straight. Suddenly, the cloak around her fluttered without wind. A layer of gold quickly covered her eyes. The golden eyes looked at everyone and said, "The eyes of a god are completely different from mortals. They can see through the invisible power of space, so I can see through Big Brother Feng's dimensional wind blades. In addition, my night vision and discernment abilities will also be greatly improved, making it easier to find opponents and hunt them down." Suyu could not help sucking in a breath and said, "Use eyes. I'm really not used to it. In your eyes, is the current Aunt Rose still the same as before?" Lin Muyu smiled. "Yeah, Aunt Rose is still as charming and amorous as before." Suyu's face turned red. "Brat, you actually dare to make fun of your elders." Qin Yan at the side said, "My cultivation realm has only just stepped into the holy region, and among the few of us, General Feng's cultivation realm is the highest, the peak of holy heaven realm. Big brother, when do you think Big Brother Feng will step into the divine realm?" "Well..." Lin Muyu looked up at the sky outside the tent. His eyes seemed to be able to see through everything. He could faintly sense the existence of the heaven realm and the pulse of the god's divine power in the heaven realm. It was so tyrannical and endless. He took a deep breath and said, "Just like what Big Brother Feng said, gods are also divided into 3, 6 and 9 ranks. Among them, the status is determined by the divine spark. I don't know why I formed a sovereign spark, but Xiao Yin's divine spark is the divine spark. So Big Brother Feng, don't be in a hurry to break through the divine realm. If you break through, just forming a mortal spark will greatly affect your future cultivation." Feng Jixing stared in shock. Then what should I do?" "Let's wait a little longer. I'll try my best to contact the 7 Brilliance Demon Emperor in the heaven realm and see if he can find me a forged immortal horoscope or a heavenly Dao horoscope. After refining the god horoscope, you'll be able to form a stronger god horoscope. Anyway, even if you manage to form the mortal horoscope, your strength will only be on par with Luolan. You'll be defeated within 10 moves if you encounter someone with the same cultivation as you. Alright, I won't break through for now. Feng Jixing raised his wine cup and drank it in one gulp as he said, my diamond body protection hasn't progressed after reaching the 7th heavenly stage. Why is that? Lin Muyu thought for a moment before smiling. It's very simple. The 8th heavenly stage of the diamond body protection is the divine power protection. Presumably, only someone with divine power can cultivate this skill. Once you step into the divine realm and become a god, you'll definitely be able to do it. Then I don't have to worry. Lin Muyu nodded and looked deeply at Feng Jixing. Big brother Feng, it's been hard on you these past 4 years. You've been busy dealing with complicated government affairs and didn't have much time to cultivate. Otherwise, with your talent, you might have already stepped into the divine realm. Next, hand over the government affairs to Luo Yu Xiao Sang and the others and focus on cultivating. Look, I've been searching for Xiao Yin's divine spark in the blood abyss for 4 years, which is equivalent to cultivating for 4 years. My mental state has long reached the great accomplishment stage, so Xiao Yin's 4 blades helped me step into the divine realm. The 5th blade helped me break through the divine realm and step into the divine realm. I understand. Feng Jixing rubbed his nose and said bitterly, you really don't know how expensive rice is until you're in charge. You on the other hand slept and cultivated for 4 years. If I didn't manage the Qin Empire, it would have been torn apart long ago. Do you think I don't want to focus on cultivation? I also want to ascend to the heavenly realm and chase a goddess as my wife. Lin Muyu was speechless. She smiled and said, to chase a goddess as your wife, you need to be strong enough. Big brother Feng, don't be in a hurry to ascend. Wait until I find a powerful divine spark for you. Otherwise, if you form a mortal divine spark and ascend to the heavenly realm, your strength will at most be low. There are so many goddesses in the heavenly realm they might not like you. After all, strength is what matters in the heavenly realm. Su Yu smiled and said, is it appropriate for the two of you to talk about chasing a goddess? Don't forget, the devil race hasn't been destroyed yet. If we don't destroy the devil race and unify the Qin Empire, are you willing to ascend to the heavenly realm? Anyway, I won't ascend before I find Xiao Yin. Lin Muyu said with certainty. His expression became solemn. Feng Jixing patted his shoulder and said, good brother, Xiao Yin is blessed by God just like you. Otherwise, she wouldn't have skipped the Saint Heaven realm and directly stepped into the God realm. She has the divine spark and will definitely live forever. Don't worry. I'm leaving Longyan City tomorrow. What about you, big brother Feng? Return to Lingnan's Sunset City and continue to guard Lingnan and pacify the people. Don't forget, you killed the governor of Lingnan province that I appointed. I have to help you clean up this mess, don't you? Lin Muyu suddenly looked disgusted and said, don't talk about it. The Northern Qi Eagle is not a good person. He used the Tianshu family to bully the poor people. Such a person should have been killed a long time ago. You actually appointed him as the governor of a province. Do you think I want to? After the Battle of Xiangyang City, there is no one who can speak in the whole of Lingnan. Talents are needed everywhere. I am already at my limit dealing with the Swift White Province, Lingtian Province and Mingshan Province. If it weren't for the Northern Qi Prefecture guarding Lingnan Province, I'm afraid that refugees would have already run everywhere. The consequences would be even more unimaginable. Alright, I can't win against you in an argument. Let's continue drinking. We won't go home until we're drunk. Alright, let's drink. The next day, in the mist of the early morning, the 5,000 metal cavalry under Lin Muyu's command, as well as the nearly 500 technical staff and craftsmen that Qin Xiling had transferred from the Bureau of Weapons of the Ministry of Works, set off one after another. They did not bring much rations, only dry rations. They traveled quickly on horseback. All food and supplies could be taken care of at the towns along the way. Feng Jixing, Su Yu, Qin Yan and the others watched Lin Muyu leave. Each of their faces carried a gratified smile. Lin Muyu's return as a god had undoubtedly given the Qin Empire, which had been swaying in the wind and rain for 4 years, a pill of reassurance. The rule of the 3 princes had always been controversial. Just because the name was not legitimate and his words were not justified, the various feudal vassals frequently rose in rebellion, causing the various provincial armies to be exhausted in suppressing